winter premiere of FBI, next Tuesday, 9/8 Central on CBS.
And this is a live look from Times Square, where they just rang in the new year on the East Coast, and it's on to 2020 and the start of a new decade. Quite a scene there. Hundreds of thousands of people there in New York City. Well, Bob, the celebration in New York seems to be a little chilly out there. How's the weather looking for our area for the new year? I understand that you've got some information on a possible winter storm.
Yeah, we've got a winter storm moving into the state. I think by the time it makes its way into the Billings area, it's going to be a little too warm for it to be all snow, but we could see a little rain mixing with snow. Here's the way it was at 7 o'clock, and you notice we could have some showers kind of moving in and out of the area tonight. But let me show you what happens then. Later tonight by midnight, it looks like we could see some scattered rain and snow showers moving into the Billings area. Then later on in the morning, you'll see a hole in the clouds, and then some more rain and snow showers moving in off and on throughout the day on Wednesday on into Thursday. But here's what we are thinking we'll see is temperature-wise at midnight tonight. It's going to be 31 degrees, maybe some snow moving into the region. Then throughout the rest of the day on New Year's Day, maybe up to 47 degrees, but we could see some rain and snow showers in the morning and then some more rain later on in the afternoon. And just want to wish you all a very happy 2020 because the weather's going to start off fairly comfortable. It's just going to be a little icy on the streets, so be careful.
All right, thank you, Bob. Well, Sweetgrass County law enforcement investigating a homicide out of Big Timber tonight. Shortly before 5:30 tonight, police responded to West 8th Avenue, found a person dead of a gunshot wound. One suspect is in custody, and law enforcement says there is no ongoing threat. The victim's name has not been released at this time. Filed against a man involved in a March shooting that left 2 people dead and a Montana Highway Patrol trooper with severe injuries. Jonathan Bursch is now also charged in the death of Julie Blanchard, as well as the death of Shelley Hayes. Blanchard died from her injuries in a Washington State hospital on June 3rd. And he's also charged with attempted murder in the shootings of Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Wade Palmer and Julie's son, Casey Blanchard. Julie, Casey, and Shelley were shot on March 14th off Expressway Boulevard in Missoula when they pulled over after noticing a vehicle behind them that had its lights flashing. Trooper Palmer was shot after pulling Bursch over. Both Casey and Trooper Palmer continue their recovery at their Stevensville homes. A trial date for Bursch has been set for August of 2020. Well, the owners of a Billings-based construction business have pleaded guilty to 2 counts of tax evasion. James Kissling and his wife, Timmy Lynn Kissling, are the owners of Kissling Quality Builders. They face a maximum of 5 years in prison, a $100,000 fine, cost of prosecution, and 3 years of supervised release. Prosecutors said in court documents that the Kisslings arranged a deal with Larry Wayne Price Jr. to hide income when Price hired them to build his house, one of the largest residential mansions ever constructed in Billings back in 2014. Court documents state that the Kisslings began building a home for themselves in 2014, and instead of paying for it with their own income, they arranged with Price to make it appear that the cost of their personal house was part of construction costs of Price's mansion. Now, Price, a former vice president of Signal Peak Energy, is currently awaiting sentencing for wire fraud, money laundering, and false statements for defrauding coal companies out of about $20 million and lying to investigators about a fake abduction. The Kisslings were released pending further proceedings. A sentencing date has not yet been set. Full details can be found on our website, ktvq.com. Well, it's happened again in Yellowstone National Park. 2 visitors cited after trespassing dangerously close to Old Faithful. Other visitors alerted park officials who tracked down the violators after viewing surveillance video that you see right here. The incident, which happened last Friday, follows another case where a visitor fell into the thermal water at Old Faithful earlier this year. He suffered severe burns. Park officials have not released any additional information on this most recent incident. Well, even before we head into tonight's festivities and celebrations, Montana roadways claimed another life just west of Billings today. Authorities are investigating a one-vehicle crash on Molt Road after a GMC Yukon struck a power pole about 4 miles west of the Ironwood subdivision. Emergency crews responded around 1 o'clock this afternoon to find a female passenger dead, the male driver injured. Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Eric Gardner tells Q2 the driver who survived was wearing a seatbelt and the passenger who died was not. So far, no word on why the vehicle left the roadway. Well, so far this year, at least 184 people have died on Montana roadways. And that new report showing Montana and Wyoming lead the nation for drunk driving deaths. It also reveals more than 40% of Americans drink too much on New Year's Eve. Well, law enforcement says always have a designated driver or simply call a taxi or car service to make it home safely.
It's the culture that we have in Montana, a drinking culture. Go to Cat Grizz. What do you see at Cat Grizz? Drinking culture. I'm not a prohibitionist. I'm not saying let's quit drinking. Just your decision-making abilities get impaired when you drink, and people drive. They still do. They think they're fine.
Sergeant Lester says call family or friends to get a safe ride, or he says even go the old-fashioned heel-toe expressway and walk yourself home. One local bar in Billings is giving out discounted Uber rides tonight in an effort to make sure all its patrons get home safely. The High Horse Saloon's owner scoured the internet in search of coupon codes for the ride-sharing service. Plans to give the codes out to anyone who asks tonight so they can save a few bucks on their ride. Now, if you plan to ring in the new decade with some drinks tonight, do so responsibly.
You are in need of a ride home, and by all means, grab me tonight and we'll make sure you get one. It's just there's a lot of people out tonight, and drinking tends to come with it sometimes. We just want everybody to be safe and enjoy your holidays, the last kind of hoorah here, and get 2020 started off on the right foot and have fun and be safe.
And again, regardless of where you plan to celebrate tonight, make sure you get home safe. President Trump tweeted Iran will be held fully responsible after protesters attacked the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Additional U.S. troops and equipment have been deployed this New Year's Eve to shore up security at the embassy. Skylar Henry reports from the White House.
U.S. Marines are heading to Baghdad to fortify the U.S. Embassy, hours after an estimated 6,000 Iraqi protesters attacked the embassy, throwing rocks, spraying graffiti on the walls, and torching a guard station. The protesters did not reach the main compound, and there are no plans to evacuate U.S. personnel. A State Department official confirmed to CBS News locally contracted guards fired tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the demonstrators, while the U.S. military helicopters fired flares overhead. The embassy attack followed U.S. airstrikes in Iraq and Syria that killed 25 fighters from an Iran-backed militia over the weekend. The Pentagon said those airstrikes were retaliation for a rocket attack on an Iraqi base near Kirkuk last week that killed one U.S. contractor and injured several U.S. and Iraqi servicemen. President Trump called on Iraqi forces to do a better job of securing the embassy and blames Iran for the embassy attack, as well as the escalation of tensions in the country.
Make no mistake about it. These are Iranian-sponsored, Iranian-backed, Iranian-coordinated attacks on American interests, and we've made clear this is not acceptable.
The president spent part of Tuesday at his golf club in West Palm Beach, Florida, tweeting afterwards, "Very good meeting on the Middle East." In a statement, Senate Foreign Relations Committee ranking member Robert Menendez called on the Trump administration to immediately provide Congress a detailed explanation of how this security failure happened and a plan of action for protecting our diplomats. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The Iranian ambassador to the United Nations released a statement saying the U.S. is making allegations against Iran to divert attention away from the anger following the U.S. airstrikes. Well, coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, these airlines are flying high with their support for kids with autism. Check out how. Plus, we round out our recap of 2019 with a look at national headlines from the year. Then later in sports, the party started early in Helena this weekend. We're going to show you the reception for the Capital's latest world champion.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader. Powered by the Montana Television Network. The 10 o'clock news continues on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Well, big crowds and loud noises make it especially hard for children with autism to go through airports and fly on airplanes. Some major airlines have found a unique way to help. Chris Van Cleve shows us how the effort is really taking off.
Are you excited?
For 6-year-old Nathan Diamond, today is a big day. He'll be walking on an airplane for the first time since he was a baby. He has autism, so he's sensitive to the noise and activity of an airport, and changes to his routine can be disruptive.
You're going to hand her your boarding pass. Give it to her.
They don't travel often, but when his parents, Sonia and Jonathan, take him to visit family, they make an 8-hour drive to Arkansas. They could fly in about 90 minutes.
How's it gone so far?
I'll be honest. It was a little nerve-wracking, I think, for us, but for him, he was taking the challenge on.
Once a month, Delta offers a special orientation program for families touched by autism to help get kids comfortable with the airport process, from check-in and security to boarding.
Would you like something, young man?
And what to expect on the plane.
The easiest thing for us was like, we sitting down, we on this plane. But this is the hardest part for him. Sitting down, these narrow ways, and see, that's the hardest part for him.
1 in 59 8-year-olds is on the autism spectrum. Among them, Captain Eric Reese's son. He's led the Atlanta tours for the last 4 years.
And you worry about your child, and when you've seen a child have a meltdown that's on the spectrum, it's scary. And these families are scared to death that it's going to happen on a plane, and we're going to land, and we're going to create all sorts of problems and disrupt passengers and things like that. But I assure them that's not the case.
Delta offers these tours at its Atlanta and Minneapolis hubs. Other airlines, including Alaska, American, and JetBlue, offer similar programs at airports across the country.
For young kids with autism, these new sensory experiences, the overhead page, all of the sights and sounds, can be quite overwhelming. And as a result, many people with autism really need to have experiences before they get to the airport just to prepare them for that.
Delta built this special sensory room in Atlanta's International Terminal as a place families can go to calm down if the airport becomes sensory overload. It's a first for Delta.
What's it like for you seeing the reactions from the kids, particularly when their eyes light up? It's just amazing, and that it's doing good, and it's making families feel empowered and confident and comfortable. And I want them to have the same experiences with their children that I've had with mine.
And the Diamonds are ready. They just have to agree on where to go.
My first one was Paris.
I knew it. He want to do Paris. He thinks he's suave, honey. He wants to do Paris. He thinks he's Fred. I just want to go to Disneyland.
Have a seat in the captain's seat.
Whatever the final destination, from the looks of Nathan in the cockpit, he's about ready for takeoff. For CBS This Morning, Chris Van Cleve, Atlanta.
Well, up next in weather, Bob says don't let the incoming snow set the tone for your whole year. We're warming up again in your forecast. That's coming up right after the break.
Now, here's your Storm Tracker weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire.
Just about an hour and 45 minutes. It'll be 2020. So we're going to start off tonight with a picture of the last sunset in Wyoming. This comes to us from Lynn Richardson. This is the way it looked, kind of a little cloudy. This is kind of clouds kind of hid some of the beautiful colors we had of the last sunset of this decade. And here's a shot from Floyd, Houston Tillery, probably showing you some of the beautiful celebrations already around the world where we've had New Year's already coming in. Right now, here's the way things are shaping up in Billings right now currently. No celebrations yet because it's not New Year's yet. It's 38 degrees, though. We do have a southwest wind at 22. Gives us a wind chill factor that feels like 27 degrees right now. Now, our high temp today actually topped out at 42. That's not bad for this time of year. 35 is your normal high, so we beat that. The record 53. Back in 1980, the record low was a very chilly 23 below zero back in 1978. 1978 had a lot of record low temperatures, so a lot of snow that year. That was a really bad winter. You might remember that one. Meanwhile, here's the way things are shaping up as far as precipitation. Nothing new to add to the totals. Here's probably how we'll finish up the year at about 1,400s for the month, and for the year we're at 19.10 inches. The normal for this time of year is 13.66, so obviously we surpassed that 1366 months ago. In the meantime, let me show you how we're doing around the rest of the state. Current temps into the 20s and 30s out in the west. 40 still here in central Montana. Across the high line up here towards Glasgow, we're at 36 degrees, 37 at Jordan. You see 30s over here, Billings 38, 37 at Miles City, 23 at Worland. But these were our reported highs today. All this area in the green, look at that. These are all 40s today. On the other side of that, into the 30s and some 20s over at Dillon. Back here is 36 over at Glendive today, or Glasgow today. And Glendive actually finally topped out at 40 degrees this afternoon. But we still got windy conditions to talk about. Beartooth foothills, we're looking at winds gusting to in excess of 65 miles per hour through 10 p.m. on Wednesday, right up towards Harleton and eastern slopes of the Divide. Very windy there, and all the way up in towards Canada from Great Falls all the way through Cutbank. Winds gusting to 60 miles per hour. Plus, over here at Great Falls in the Cascade County, we have a flood watch tonight because we have a river ice jam in the Missouri River right there at Great Falls at Riverside Park, and that's causing the waters to rise in that area. So you could see some small flooding in that region. Plus, on the Rocky Mountain front, we have a winter storm warning, 2 to 5 inches of snow through tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Up in the mountains, maybe 12 inches of snow. And finally, out in the western part of the state, look at that, all that stuff in purple. That's a winter weather advisory. Various amounts of snowfall expected, 5 to 10, maybe 1 to 3 in the valleys, 4 to 8 over here in the mountains, and towards the southwest, maybe a foot of snow in those areas. Plus, here's a winter storm warning for the Beartooth, maybe 9 to 15 inches of snow until midnight tomorrow night. So, yeah, we got all sorts of snowfall amounts coming all over the place, coming out of our ears. Here's the snow roll right now starting to make its way out of Kalispell, moving in towards the Bozeman area. So this cell right here, I think that's the one that's going to move into the Billings area probably around midnight tonight. It's all part of the system that continues to push its way onshore tonight into Montana, into Wyoming. At the surface, there's your cold front, and you can see the system moving into our region tomorrow morning. And then more scattered rain showers by Wednesday morning, and then the system starts kind of clearing up around the Billings area, but then another batch of moisture starts moving in from the north later on the day on Wednesday and Thursday. Finally, another system blows on through with windy conditions on Thursday night and kind of clears things out for us. As far as snowfall amounts, we're looking at maybe 2 to 4 inches at Lewistown. Here in the Billings area, we're not expecting much, maybe just some icy roadways in the next few hours or so. So tonight, our temps will cool down to the 20s and 30s across the region, maybe some scattered snow showers tomorrow. We're back up into the 40s again, upper 40s in Billings, and you'll see here tonight in Billings down to 31 with a 40% chance for snow. Next 7 days, it'll be into the 40s through Friday, then back up to 51 degrees on Saturday, into the 40s on Sunday and Monday, and 43 on Tuesday. Chance of precip is on tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. Let's go back to Russ.
All right, thank you, Bob. Up next on Q2, even though America already has its sights set on 2020, a lot happened here in 2019. We're going to take a look back next. More mass shootings. Disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein died in jail, and a widespread college admissions scam involving some Hollywood actresses. Tom Hansen looks back at the top national stories of 2019.
A massive college admissions scandal dubbed Operation Varsity Blues ensnared dozens of wealthy parents, including Hollywood actresses Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. Federal prosecutors charged them with paying mastermind Rick Singer to get their children into elite universities.
For every student admitted through fraud, an honest, genuinely talented student was rejected.
Amazon founder Jeff Bezos accused the publisher of the National Enquirer of trying to blackmail him with lewd photos and explicit text messages between the billionaire and a woman he was having an affair with. Around the same time, Bezos announced his separation from his wife Mackenzie. The divorce made his ex one of the richest women in the world. Wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his New York City jail cell while he awaited trial on sex trafficking charges. The medical examiner ruled it a suicide. A federal court in New York convicted and sentenced Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman to life in prison. Nearly 3 months after she disappeared, 13-year-old Jamie Kloss turned up alive in January after escaping from the man who kidnapped her and murdered her parents. A lawyer read her statement in court.
He thought that he could own me, but he was wrong. I was smarter.
Former Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke was sentenced to more than 6 years in prison for killing Laquan McDonald in 2014. Dashcam video showed Van Dyke shooting the 17-year-old more than a dozen times as he walked away from officers. During her sentencing, former Dallas police officer Amber Geiger hugged the brother of the man she was convicted of murdering. Geiger shot her neighbor Botham Jean in his own apartment. She claimed she thought it was her apartment and that he was a burglar.
Shots fired, second floor.
2019 saw more mass shootings across the U.S., including an attack inside a municipal building in Virginia Beach that left 12 dead. In August, 2 mass shootings less than a day apart at a Texas Walmart and an Ohio business district left 31 dead. Off the coast of Santa Barbara, a dive boat burst into flames, killing 34 people. Firefighters battled dozens of wildfires across California, including a massive one in Sonoma County that destroyed more than 100 homes and buildings and forced the evacuations of hundreds of thousands. The New England Patriots beat the LA Rams to win their 6th Super Bowl title, tying the Pittsburgh Steelers for the record. The U.S. women's national soccer team won its 2nd World Cup in a row as it continued to advocate for equal pay.
World champions!
The Nationals won their first ever World Series. And Washington's National Zoo said goodbye to giant panda Bei, who went to China to join a breeding program. Tom Hansen, CBS News.
Bei's trainer brought the panda's red ball with him to China so Bei can continue to sleep with it tucked between his arms. Casey Conlon is next with sports, where Wyoming was hoping to celebrate a 2nd straight bull win down in the desert. Highlights on the way.
Time now for sports with Casey Conlon.
The party is almost on here in the Mountain Time Zone, but Wyoming started much earlier this afternoon with the Cowboys playing in their third bowl game in 4 years down in Tucson at the Arizona Bowl against Georgia State. Panthers take the opening drive right down the field. QB Dan Ellington playing with a torn ACL. No ill effects there for a 7-0 lead. Now back come the Cowboys. Freshman Levi Williams making his first career start. Nice ball to Austin Conway for the score to go up 10-7. Then after an interception from the D, Williams with the ball back finds Xavier Valladay, who had a huge day, almost 300 total yards as Wyoming takes a 10-point lead. Now here's where the game changed. 17-10, 30 seconds left in the half. Williams running out of room, fires up late to Aiden Eberhardt, who catches it, makes a move, and he's on his horse. Watch him take the hit here, dive for the score. What a play. That gave Wyoming a 2-touchdown lead that they'd never give up. Cowboys win the Arizona Bowl 38-17. Your final. They're now 8-8 in program history in bowl games. Our final athlete of the week in 2019 isn't technically an athlete anymore, but we're thinking no one will raise any objections about a girl who's been in this spot several times over the decade. We might have called J.C. Henderson's name more than any other Billings native during the 2010s, and the former senior star is still making waves post-playing career. Here's MTN's Jack Ginsburg.
Henderson ended her Lady Grizz career last season in strong fashion. She started all 30 games she played and averaged a career-high 12 points per game before hanging it up for good. But her career in basketball isn't over just yet, as she's now serving as a manager on the team.
Just her positive energy, having her around at practice every day. She's great for the girls, somebody that they can relate to more as a friend and on staff as well. But there's still that relationship that she has with them after just being teammates with them 1 year ago. So she's a kid who I think will be a great coach if that's what she chooses to do in her future. But she's just a positive person to be around, so we've enjoyed having her.
And that's what Henderson plans to do. She took the position to gauge whether or not she was interested in coaching.
I definitely feel like the past couple months has really taught me a lot, and I feel like it's going to be a career that I want to pursue because it's just so rewarding. I think you get a chance to work with great individuals, great coaches. I feel like my opportunity here has really been a good one, and so that's where I also think that it just tells me a lot about the profession.
While the coaching path may lead Henderson to a different program in the future, she's focused on one thing that was also a goal when she was a player, returning the Lady Grizz to the dominant program they once were.
This is a program that continually wants to see success. It should be every year that we want that we strive for that, and so I'm thankful to be a part of that.
In Missoula, Jack Ginsburg, MTN Sports.
Henderson and the Lady Grizz kicked off conference play with 2 road wins over the weekend. They play their league home opener Thursday against Southern Utah. Speaking of success, it was a party in Helena over the weekend for new world champion Ty Erickson. The former Capital student athlete was greeted by dozens of familiar faces in the North Valley, many who have supported him since his pro rodeo career began. The handshakes, hugs, and high fives were the latest of Erickson's celebration tour, one he and his family are proud and thankful to make.
In the years that PRC has been going, there is only 300 some people that have received a gold buckle. That is a hard, huge triumph, and congratulations on that. There's a big, tall cowboy back here, Bridget Chambers, too, and I see you. I just and let's say it for the Montana Cowboys, and this fan in the arena was awesome, and the rest of the champions there, you know, that are here from Montana and what we did, can't even explain it. But
referring, of course, to Miles City tie-down world champion Haven Medjed. We'll feature both Cowboys as our Montana Sports Male Athlete of the Year tomorrow, and we'll unveil our Female Athlete of the Year as well. Make sure you sign on. That's all for tonight. We'll send it back to the desk to close us out. Have a happy New Year.
All right, thank you, Casey. We are 86 minutes away from 2020. And Bob is ready to go here.
I am ready to party on. I got my hat. I think it says 2020, so I'm ready for that. Let me show you what the weather's going to be on this night and tomorrow. Looking at maybe 47 degrees on New Year's Day. We're probably going to see a little rain mixing with snow overnight tonight and again in the morning. And the temperatures will continue to stay into the 40s and the 50s all the way through the rest of the weekend. Look at Saturday, 51 degrees.
Yeah,
that's
glad to see it
nice.
Warm back up.
Yeah.
Saw people on the golf course last week, so
hard to believe, huh?
Might be able to get back out there.
So now it is. We're coming to a close. We want to wish you and yours, right, a very happy New Year, guys. You got to come back to here. Come on back to us for a second.
We're ready to celebrate out here. You ready?
There you go.
Well, if I can do it.
Pull it.
Might be a dud.
There it is.
Hey, happy New Year, everyone.